Welcome to the Cybersecurity Matters Podcast. I'm Tom Wilding, Director at Neuco, and I'm joined by my lovely colleague Gia Thomas, one of our consultants. Today we are thrilled to be joined by Heiko. Heiko is CEO at Nexis. Welcome, Heiko.
Welcome. Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Tom and Gia.
So I'm going to have to embarrass you greatly and give you a brief overview for our listeners on your experience. And then we'll jump right into some questions to hear from you. So with over 20 years of expertise in the security and identity access management sector, Heiko's led multiple teams from a C-suite position, combining strategic leadership and philosophical understanding of technology to his current role. At the moment, he is guiding the future of enterprise authorization governance by delivering innovative, intuitive AI-powered solutions that simplify the access, governance, enhance security, and ensure compliance for a range of businesses. So I hope, Heiko, that did you justice.
Thank you. Yeah, you are hired, Tom. It was a great introduction.
So tell us, let's start things off. How and why did you get into the cybersecurity industry?
So long time ago, basically at the end of my studies, I had to choose a topic for my diploma thesis. And basically I was kind of interested in the kind of security stuff. But as you know, as a young guy, you have kind of an abstract idea what cybersecurity or IT security is at all. And basically, with some kind of relations within my networks with colleagues and professors around me, I ended up in getting a special interest in service-oriented architectures, which was one of the hype topics back in the mid of 2000s. And a topic that was not very well addressed was how to secure this kind of loosely combined services in a service-oriented architecture. And so I started with my diploma thesis already to figure out and thinking about access control in service-oriented architectures. Yeah, and the rest is history. So identity and I found together 20 years ago.
Sounds like an amazing journey, Heiko. And from all of those experiences, what led you to join Nexis? Why specifically this business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Nexis and I do have so many things in common. So I was partnering with Nexis already before my time I was joining. So I was working at a systems integrator, and Nexis was one of our partners who really did an excellent job there. So I was very deep into their technology already, into their USPs and parts of their team. And when the founder of Nexis and former CEO Ludwig decided to change his focus in life and was looking for a successor, we had a conversation, and then it moved quite quickly, and it was really a great match. So I've done 18 years in the consulting and system integration space. So moving to a vendor gives you another aspect of how things are done. You can bring in all your learnings you had at the SI side, those things that have made you happy, and also those behavior from some vendors where you said, oh my gosh, that was probably not the thing I would expect to work with others or my customers have expected. And so I think it's a great combination. Beside of that, Nexis as a product research very well in the market, has a very outstanding reputation. And Nexis is based in my hometown. You won't believe it. The place where I was born, the place where I studied and grew up. Sometimes the world is very small, and so it's a lucky coincidence that it brought me back home to Regensburg, which is Munich metro area, roughly 100 kilometers north of Munich, for those listeners who are on the way.
Oh, amazing. It sounds like the stars aligned in that conversation about stepping into the CEO's role. Did he have any advice or sort of experiences that he shared to set you up for success for this new chapter?
So Ludwig?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think we have had a trustful relationship already before. Kind of similar backgrounds. We had both our identity guys by heart. if I can say so. And what I really appreciated, and I'm still very, very impressed, when you're a founder and you put all your heart and so much lifetime and all your energy into building up a great company, when you hand over the helm after 15 years, that's often a kind of challenging situation, because even if you decide actively on your own, your successor will do some things different, for sure, as two different people. And what I really, really like, and don't get the right English expression right now, but what's really an enormous situation that Ludwig managed really to kind of put the switch and switching from one mode into the other. So, and I think that's the most important thing when you talk about a CEO transition, because especially when the founder is kind of still actively doing or mingling into the daily business, this might be challenging. And I was very confident that this won't be the case and this will work out super great. In reality, it worked even better. So it was a very, very smooth change at the top, mostly probably because his kind of characteristics as a person, that he was able to kind of let things go and hand it over to another person on the one hand, but also as the company has had a certain kind of maturity that allowed to kind of do such changes as well. So business was running, whilst at the top people have been changing. And I appreciate very much his support and ongoing support. And he has had always an open ear for me in case I had to clarify things or getting some secrets from the past to make things right in the future.
Oh, amazing. And from those conversations and those stories that you've been able to share, and also pulling from your experiences in the past, what would you say is a topic in the identity space that isn't being talked about, but it should be?
That's for sure human relationships and all this stuff around, because identity and access management, cybersecurity, and probably IT is often thought from the angle, it's an IT topic, you can solve it, you just buy a product and things will work out great. And I would love to say so. And unfortunately, that's not every time the case. So you can have an excellent product, you can have super smart people as your external consultants in your internal identity and access management team, but the project can fail. And this is because especially our identity and access management has so many relations to other areas of the business. As you're sitting in the center and you're connected to so many application owners, you have so many process dependencies. Identity and access management projects are most of the time global projects. So if you have subsidiaries around the world, you have different approaches. So hiring might work different in the US compared to your European subsidiaries. You might have even different systems there. And so it has a certain kind of complexity. And where there's complexity, people have fallen in love with solutions they have designed years ago. People would like to stick to existing processes because they have done things always that way. And bringing in this change is also part of change management. And while so many projects don't have a change manager or a change program set up, which might be okay, you as an identity and access management practitioner, whether it's an engineer role, an architect role, or whether you're in a project or program leadership, I think it's very important that you really get the concerns of your peers around and that you work actively to showing, okay, we are improving things, we are automating things, and it's the best for reducing the company's security exposure, for making things better, for automating things. And I think this part of the business is underrated and often considered when it's too late and friction is already there, and then it's far harder to get rid of the friction.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And You touched there about identity and access management projects being global and complex. And I think sometimes there's this perception that identity in governments are sometimes checkbox exercises. How do you, as a leader of a fantastic company like Nexis, make this engaging and meaningful and strategic for CISOs and business leaders alike?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think it depends very much on the company's maturity and also industry. So the regulated industries like FSI, financial services, and insurance, given by regulation, they have understood they have to take a certain mechanism in place, like access reviews, a proper documentation of identity and access management governance by law. And so this could be the effect where you say, oh, I fulfill just my checkbox, the law is saying so. On the other hand, when you have this very large and complex programs like IGA, you have application onboarding and you have to onboard 1,000, 2,000 or even 3,000 application. It's very easy math that it takes enormous amount of time, but also consumes enormous amounts of budget. And just fulfilling a checkbox might not be satisfying at all for everyone. So basically coming from that point of view or direction, how can I make my company looking better tomorrow, whether it's process automation, when I think about joiner movers and levers, so integrating everything into an IAM managed application. Whether it's making the life of my peers, especially in the business departments, easier by giving them an understanding and support when it comes to access reviews. So basically those people who are deciding who is allowed to access what, allowing employees and colleagues company-wide, giving the right access and allowing them proper processes if they need access to something that they can request it in a proper way. And last but not least, when there is a cyber attack through the missing identity and access management capabilities, I won't be wearing your shoes, because then you end up in massive troubles. And we have basically seen it so often. Nearly every day you can read it in the newspapers. There was a big UK-based company, English company, who has been down in production for a couple of weeks. And these are enormous effects. So some companies might survive, but the likelihood that you really get enormous trouble should change your thinking that it's not just getting a tick in the box, but that it is part of a proper management system that you have implemented what the IT guys call ISMS, Information Security Management System, that you really cover all those areas that have to be secured, basically have it implemented in a proper way, and last but not least, ensure that those things you have planned are really kind of executed on an operational level.
It's a real benefit that within your area there are such highly publicized breaches, and it's so highly publicized the impacts of those breaches for businesses directly. I really want to hear your thoughts on people and leadership and talent more broadly. Technology, especially in the security industry, moves at breakneck speed, but people have been able to remain at the core regardless of what level of technology is being used and evolved. From a people perspective and from a talent perspective, what do you think are some of the most important factors in hiring right and hiring people that suit security vendors?
Yeah, hiring right is always a challenge. So
you're telling us, yeah.
I think what really helps enormously in the cyber and IAM space, that you hire on the one hand people that are really curious, who want to develop themselves even further. So our business and our technology is evolving so fast. So those things that have been relevant 20 years ago, those things that have been relevant 10 years ago might not be important as of today. So if you really want to have a job that's kind of works in the next 20 years as of today, you might be wrong in cybersecurity. So I think it's being a hiring manager, figuring out, is there a certain kind of curiosity there that people really want to involve, that they are kind of greedy to learn something new, and that they are really open to it on the one hand. And on the other hand, with this kind of imminent change in the industry, it's necessary that you as a person will be open for that change too. Because if you are kind of very, very focused on one topic, this might be then very, very hard to put you in a role that kind of will look like in 5 years' time the same as of today. So basically, you should bring a certain kind of flexibility. And there's for sure, if you have a good track record, and I really believe also in a solid foundation, in a solid education, because IAM is so complex. You will always, at a certain point, end up in some basic things you have probably learned during your education process or at the beginning of your career. So if you have a proper foundation, a proper education, I think that still matters.
You mentioned two things there that are interesting. I'm keen to delve a bit deeper into. The curiosity theme is a theme that we hear consistently when people talk about the stereotypes and the sort of types of profile and qualities that work really well. I think that's really appropriate. It's one we hire in at neuco. For the new starters that we've haven't had, there are always people that are curious and want to ask and find out more. From a leadership perspective, managing people that have that greed, as you call it, that real thirst for knowledge. How do you manage a group of people that have such appetite? Because I think the best businesses out there do hire people with ambition and hunger, and that creates challenge in itself. How do you manage leading a group of people like that?
So it depends always on the kind of setup and the kind of role, but let's assume it's a kind of consulting team. I think it's very important to trust people at the end of the day. They are working very, very close with the customer. Most of the time you are a manager, have more of a distance to the project if you're not kind of involved as the project leader or so. Basically giving them the trust, but also giving them the support they need at the same time. Then people can really go the extra mile if they have the kind of right genes for that to move on. And I think that's an important thing. Everyone will do some things differently, and that's basically refers back to our initial conversation about the CEO change at the top. So I do things different than Ludwig, and for sure my project team, when I'm steering a project, will do things different than I do. But is it wrong or is it good? I don't know. It's basically first and foremost, it's different. At the end, it counts. The result counts at the end of the day. So basically, if you trust them, if you give them guidance, and if you're there when they are asking, this is, I think, an important leadership skill that you should bring with you when you are working together with teams.
And difference as well. You mentioned different trains of thought. It feeds into to all of the studies out there that support that diversity of thought and background and people create strength. That difference is a really important thing. Otherwise, business would largely be extremely boring. Talk to me about you personally and your approach to leadership. Has there been anyone that has particularly inspired you, whether someone you've known personally or slightly more broader?
Mm-hmm. So I think the most inspiring moments have been basically taking the chances that you have been offered. So that's again reflecting the theme we've discussed earlier. So in my young career, in my early career, I was working as a consultant. And I think as a consultant, it's very important to really work in a consulting style mode. So be flexible, change the projects when you are asked to change the project. Be curious for something new. So for sure, it's easier to stay with the customer. You have been worked there last year. You know everything. You know the people. You know the network. Back in time, we have been traveling and living in the hotel during the week. You know your hotel. You know the surroundings. So it's a very comfortable situation. But it's important, I think, especially in the early days of your career, get out of the comfort zone. Try to learn something new. Be confronted, and say more yes than no when it comes to chances that are that are offered to you, because it gives you a wide background, and after a couple of years you have a good understanding on how industry works. And what I've seen as a consultant and what I've really appreciated very much, I have been at the same employer. However, I have worked for several customers. So I got different methodologies, how IT projects are done. I got in touch with different company cultures. I got in touch with different leaders and colleagues, from engineer to architects to application owners, and all this flavor and different people gives you different facets of the business. It might be sometimes challenging to adapt to everything, but at the end, you're learning so much, and this is something I really appreciated. And I'm super happy that I had the chance to kind of work across different industries, different projects, and build up a solid foundation.
That makes total sense, and I think that consultancy background is one that is really can really strengthen a case for leadership. So the first point I wanted to address in your first answer was curiosity. The second one was around the academic background, because I think that is one that is slightly more controversial, is the wrong word, but people feel very strongly either way. People either feel really strongly that an academic background is critical, or people feel really strongly that it doesn't matter what academic background someone has, it's more about their work experience. Why is your view so strongly that the academic foundations that someone has are really helpful for succeeding in the space that you work?
Yeah, probably let me correct. I think it could be both be working out. So I have had the chance to work with great people with an academic background, but I have also worked with people that have kind of done everything by themselves. I think when you do have an academic background, you get a solid foundational training, you get a solid education, and so you have something you can build up. You also often learn a clear structure on how to solve problems, and this is often one of the most important building blocks. And the other one is you will be taught to learn. So as we have this kind of continuous learning necessity in IT, and especially in cybersecurity, you have to build up a principle or a habit that you are empowered to kind of be a learner, a lifelong learner. And I think that's very important. This kind of stuff is taught in academia. However, if you're kind of starting from anywhere else and you're kind of building up your expertise by yourself, you might have this kind of capabilities as well. I think those people who have not an academic background should really try to build up this habit of being a continuous learner, to figure out what's their learning style, how can I incorporate new knowledge, and I think that's the important way. Which
ties into your first point on curiosity. By virtue of studying, you're finding out the answers to things, you're being curious. That makes a lot of sense. And at neuco, we hire graduates predominantly for similar reasons, albeit you're totally right. There are people out there that haven't had that same journey, but are equally as suited, and appreciate your response.
Great to hear your thoughts on people and on talent, Heiko. I wanted to touch slightly on your topic that matters, gain some insights from you about the actual industry as a whole. So I'm going to start off slightly broader and ask where you see the biggest opportunity in cybersecurity and technology in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. So cybersecurity is just a big opportunity, but if I drill it down, there are for sure topics that are having a higher opportunity, and topics that probably have less and higher opportunity, or might be challenging there sooner or later. I think what still is sometimes a challenge for customers or clients, and still is evolving, is on the one hand kind of shifting to the cloud. That's still not yet done, despite SaaS is out there for ages. But there is so much more homework to do. That's resilience. So what happens when my cloud provider is stopping. You have probably heard about the recent AWS outage. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Today is mid of November. So what happens if your important software stack is not available to you as a business when you are producing things, when you have certain relationship? That's for sure the kind of risk exposure that you have towards cyber attackers. We have the third party and supply chain attacks. And there is so many things that have to be secured and understood. And last but not least, AI. Whilst AI for the broader market was basically not existent, kind of, a couple of years ago. We are now facing challenges, and I still believe that most of the organizations, but also most of the individuals, do not see the big change and the impact we will see. So it's nice to use ChatGPT for some things. It's probably nice for graduates if they get some support in the back end when they are doing some homework, exercises, or even writing the thesis. So fingers crossed that the professors won't see it. However, that's just the easy peasy beginning. I think the imminent change is there. It's such an unbelievable computing power. So if you have some data there, you can calculate things. So even if I give you access to your whole company, you might not be able as an individual to kind of compile everything into a proper result. So you have the access, but it's like this little child standing in front of the candy store and saying, wow, oh my God, it's so much. But the child can't eat everything, despite it's a nice surprise. When you are using AI properly, the child gets into a big Hoover, kind of sucking up all the sweets and candies. And this is really a game changer when it comes to, for example, authorization governance, which is our sweet spot. Whilst in the past, least privilege, proper scope of authorization was always important and is still important. But the risk 10 years ago that you kind of can consume everything as an individual was somehow limited. Now with AI, agentic AI, and you have probably authorized your agent to do everything on behalf of you, has a completely different risk factor. And so all this kind of third-party risk management to understand and kind of setting up processes are important, because as the saying goes, hackers don't break in the login, or attackers don't break in the login. You have always the risk, and probably they will attack the weakest link in the chain. And that's most of the time not the top enterprise company. That might be one of their suppliers on the third level, and kind of sneaking in from behind, which is just the easier way.
No, and that was a fantastic comparison between the child in the candy store and AI and the industry. What you said actually kind of leads into my next question, which is, in the identity space, obviously the definition of identity is shifting when we are talking about AI agents and, machine identities and service accounts. Mm-hmm. How does that evolution change the way that organizations should, draw the line between necessary automation and human judgment? Does that make sense?
That does make sense. So on the one hand, we have an explosion of identities. So whether you call them service accounts, non-human identities, machine accounts, so that's probably, again, an academic discussion or a discussion between analysts, whatever they like. And it might be, it's probably a nice battle on social media as well. But at the end, it isn't that important. One thing that counts, you have your human identities, which are your employees, which are your partners and your external workforce. You have the customers, you have service accounts, so kind of technical accounts that allow a computer communicating with another computer and kind of executing things on behalf of someone. And you have agentic AI, and especially with the AI agents, things will be exploding far more. What's the difference, or what's the most challenge, is probably that you have really put in your management and governance layers on top of it, not just to let it grow And then you have to clean up, but kind of establish your habits, your routines, and your processes from the very early beginning on. It's like, I often like to speak in pictures. It's like cleaning up your kitchen. When you do a bit of cooking and you have it a little bit dirty, and if you clean it up immediately, it might be 1 minute or 2 minutes, and then you're done. If you won't clean up your kitchen for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 5 weeks, then it will be a big mess, and then it's a lot of effort to get it cleaned. So basically, IT tends to kind of adapt new technology very quickly, and unfortunately, often security, identity and access management is considered then secondly. This is probably a challenge of human beings, of enterprises, but also from the big tech players. So I think from the industry as a whole, acting responsibly and kind of helping end users, even IT practitioners, to operate and set up things securely. So not just providing possibilities, but to provide secure possibilities will be a very important thing of the future.
What's the single most significant or dangerous pitfall that a business can encounter when it's looking at bringing in an identity access management solution?
What's the biggest pitfall? So I think introducing identity and access management, you should aware it's not just a project, it's a program. So most of the time it's not ending after a project period, it's an ongoing journey. I think that's the most important thing. Second important thing, also what we talked earlier on already, it has so much dependency on people. So if you haven't set up it right, so if it's just a technology-driven thing, I buy this technology, I contract this contractor to build it up, and then I'm done, the likelihood to fail is quite high. So you really have to understand and prepare before. What are your challenges? What are your requirements? What's the roadmap over the probably next couple of years? Whether it's already part of the RFP you're issuing or not, and then kind of executing it wisely. And I think that's the most important thing. So it's not a technology thing. It's a process topic that affects the whole company. And you should kind of execute it as this kind of project to be successful.
That's it resonates with us in particular, because our product is people, we work with people, and, help businesses hire, and they're complex things with a lot of everyone is different. It's the beauty and the humanity, but it also creates challenges if you've got an IAM solution offering. Do slightly more sort of philosophical, broader question, but do you ever think there could be a passwordless future? A world in which there was never passwords and it was something different?
I hope so.
Do you?
I hope so, yeah. So basically, we all know the weaknesses of passwords. Unfortunately, they are easy to handle and easy to implement. They are easy to write on a sticky note. They are easy to share. And they are easy to share, so they have a lot of disadvantages. As well, I think the industry made a good progress so far when we think about kind of protocols that are standardizing the environment at all, which was OAuth and OpenID Connect, OIDC, the introduction of passkeys, even the synchronization of passkeys in the backends of the hyperscalers, despite people have different opinion on it. But for end users, for B2C scenarios, it's, in my opinion, an advantage. It will move on to decentralized identities. So when you really can prove based on your passport or your ID card of who you are, on the one hand. On the other hand, you have issues, again, when you always have to prove your identity. Probably you want to act in certain cases and certain instances anonymously for a proper reason, because when it's just consuming something on the web, why should you share all your personal details? And I think that's something we have still to work on. But I really believe there will be a certain point in time where passwords will have been gone.
I wonder if it will be in either of our times, whether it will be for our kids and grandchildren. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see.
It could be that it takes longer. Just look back to the mainframes. When you look at the big banks, there is always, or very, very often, still some mainframe dinosaurs and relicts somewhere around.
True.
So technology lasts, and therefore it's so important when you do things now, especially when it comes to agentic AI, when it comes to service account, when it comes to authorization governance, do it properly, because what you mess up today will be probably the mess that lasts 20 or 30 years.
The butterfly effect of our messes.
Yeah.
All right, Heiko, we have one final question, and it's a question that we ask everyone that appears on our podcast series. What is the one piece of advice that you would give someone looking to start a career in the identity access management space?
I would say probably from more a generic perspective when you start a career, but even if you have started your career, I think it's still a wise advice, and it looks that simple, but often it isn't. Be kind and don't lie. And I can tell why. So just being kind to people helps so much. You always have friction. You have different opinions in business. You have different point of view. Sometimes departments have different strategies. It might be even that you're at a company, when you're an external one, kind of contracting, you will go in a different direction that you like. At the end, you can only resolve those challenges if you be kind and when you find a way together. And when it comes to kind of motivating and enabling your team, a thank you is often more worth than a couple of quids salary increase. So people won't stay just because of the salary, but also about the kind of culture where you should show thankfulness, as basically people work for people at the end of the day, and at a certain point in time, for sure, for money as well. But don't forget being kind to people. And the don't lie effect, I think that's also probably a no-brainer, but you often see that people don't act that way. And probably to say lying is a little bit too harsh and a little bit too pointing. But at the end, reality kicks in. That's true. That's a kind of law by nature. So if you miss your target and you know it, tell it, then someone else might have the chance to kind of correct or react in an appropriate way to kind of reduce the harm probably. If you can't fulfill your project timeline, at the end of the day, everyone will see it. So you can probably hide it for 2 weeks, for 2 months, probably for several years, but at the end of the day, your project will be delayed and everyone will see it. So reality kicks always in. So if you just don't lie, if you kind of prepare the facts that are just facts, and probably not just come with the problem, but also with ideas for the solution. And if you don't have an idea, ask for advice, ask for help, whether it's your teammates, whether it's your manager or somewhere in the company or your mentor. I think those two things, that as easy they are sounding, are really two guidelines that will help you in your career to always think about be kind and don't lie as reality kicks in.
Help you in your career and help you in life. I think my grandmother would approve of both of those, which is and my grandmother's one of my favourite people on earth, so that is a good thing. Heiko, thank you so much. We hugely appreciate your time and your interest and intrigue. We look forward to keeping in touch and sharing this podcast. And should you have, or should you hear this and be interested in Heiko's background, do feel free to reach out. Thank you, Heiko.
Thank you.